wanted to talk about that, about the genius of being present, when you're present. I mean, here's Margaret being open. I called her up. It's true, I called her up probably like a few days before service because I'm always running like, oh yeah, that's coming up, we got to do this. I called Margaret and I said, hey, what song do you think that we can sing? Here's my talk title, Being Present in the Present. And now I feel like I should have added as a present after listening to this. And she called me back less than 24 hours later and said, I've got something. But I know that type, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that type of genius, that type of brilliance, that type of creation doesn't happen if you start to think about all the other things that you have to do.
Oh my gosh, I had so many other things I had to do.
But how present you were to them.
Yeah, I had to know that if this is coming through, it's supposed to be, and there will be time for everything else.
You were open to the download that was coming through in that moment of going, everything else has to move out of my way. And I mean, how often does that happen? Don't we? I know we've all had those bursts of inspiration and those bursts of energy, right? Like, oh my God, this is coming through me right now. This is like, where's this coming from? I've got to do this. You know, Reverend Eric last week singing, like, oh, where is this? Well, maybe you already knew you were going to sing and decided, but you know, you get those bursts of inspiration and move forward. Like Karen deciding to start a charity, right? It was just a burst of inspiration. Scott and Jose, same thing, just all of a sudden deciding to do something and moving forward to do it, but you have to be open and present in order for that to happen. Because I know for myself what's happened in the past is I get this burst of inspiration, like, oh my God, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is what I gotta do. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, but I gotta clean the house and I gotta feed the children. And then all of a sudden this inspiration starts to sort of just deflect onto other things. It's like a magician. I should make something here. But it starts to move away, right? Because we move away from the present moment and into something that is futuristic, something that either happened in the past, either the reasons why we can't do it or the reasons why we can't do it because our attention needs to go somewhere else. And Margaret is the perfect example of saying, yeah, I had a plethora of things to do, and yet I stayed present in this moment and allowed that to go through. Eckhart Tolle says that a lot of times we are either experiencing what we're doing or it's a means to an end. And how many times are most things a means to an end? I understand that, you know, you get in your car and you drive here and maybe you don't feel as present. And part of the reason why I asked you all to be present here for experiencing it for the first time is because how many times do you come even to service or to work or wherever it is that you go and your mind is somewhere else? It's already in the future, already thinking of something else that you need to do. And you don't get the opportunity to, as Pauline said, really see the gift that is right before you, the gift of inspiration, the gift of creation, the gift of knowing who you are. You know, last week, Dr. James talked about remembering the future. Well, part of remembering the future is being present enough in the today, in this moment, to understand that that future is existing right now. So when he's talking about remembering the future, he's not saying sit and daydream. He's saying know the future right now in this present moment. We talk often in New Thought about the mental equivalent, and then in order to attract things to us, we have to have that mental equivalent to it. But you're not going to have that mental equivalent tomorrow, and you didn't have it yesterday. And again, as Eckhart Tolle says, yesterday was in the now, and tomorrow is going to be in the now. There is only one moment, and that is the now. So are you living it in the past, or are you living it in the present? So when you got in your car and you came here and you sat down, were you ready to just be present? Be present to the opening song, knowing the truth about who you are? Were you present to hearing Pauline speak about the treasures that Athena found walking around, and Margaret singing a song about being a gift, the gift? You see, we have a responsibility, and I love one of the lyrics that Margaret has in her songs, which is, you can choose to hide your gift. Is that the lyric? You can choose to hide your gift. Now, the important part in that is that you choose to hide your gift because the gift is there. You are the gift. each and every person here, online, everyone, we all are the gift. But we can choose to hide that gift and choose to hide it from our own self-deprecation, from what other people say. But that doesn't negate the fact that the gift exists as who you are. Another great part in Margaret's song that I really love is, all three of it, being present. So we talked about being present, being here, being now, in the present. So the difference is being present, being aware. Being aware. And what does awareness mean? Well, I will tell you what awareness means. Because we talk a lot about awareness, but do we really know, outside of, talking about what it is, what it really means? Well, I thought I wrote it down, but I'll tell you what it said. Awareness is when you're conscious of a moment. When you're conscious of a moment. Understanding everything from where you tend to focus your attention. Isn't that interesting? That awareness is understanding everything from where you tend to focus your attention. So my awareness is very different than your awareness. Does that negate my awareness? Not at all. And does that negate your awareness? No. It just means that my awareness is tending from somewhere else. And that when we come together to know the truth about who we are, I know the truth about you, we know that awareness expands into something greater. In the one, there are many. So your awareness, while it may be different than my awareness, because my tendency to be conscious on something else may not be the same as yours, it is the growth and the expansion of this one mind expressing itself so brilliantly as many. We are all the gift, but we are all different gifts. We bring our own gifts, our choice to bring whatever gifts that we bring into this world. And when you're present in this moment, present, aware, in this moment, in this present, in this only moment that ever is, there is no other moment, there is no future. There never is. The future exists in your mind. The past exists in your mind. There is just the right now. And so it's, when you're in that awareness, don't you just feel so alive? Don't you just feel so alive? And yet there's still a stillness inside of you who knows exactly who you are. So as you're feeling alive and expressing and having that stillness and feeling like you're in a dream state, I love this quote from a Buddhist monk, Khenpo Tsuen, and I'm not going to say the rest because I'll chop it, but it's Khenpo Tsuen. The world of waking experience is similar to a dream in that it seems to exist objectively. But when you examine it closely, you realize it is an uninterrupted flow of sights, sounds, tastes, smells, tactile sensations, and thoughts. Like a dream, it is completely your own experience and entirely in your own mind. And isn't that what awareness is? Isn't that what we just said awareness is? Awareness is that ability to focus the tendency of where you focus your attention. In Michael Singer's book that we've been reading, this is my second class with Michael Singer, and I absolutely love him. We did the Untethered Soul last. We're doing the Surrender Experience this time. Reverend Eric and I are teaching it, and it's so delightful. A lot of it is so experiential. And one of the chapters that he talks about is called Following the Invisible to the Unknown. Think about that for a second. Follow the invisible to the unknown. That's following from within. That's following when you know who you are and you move forward. Margaret followed the invisible to the unknown to create a song from nowhere. Following the invisible to the unknown. That invisible knowing is that faith that you have inside of you, knowing exactly where you're going. It's that conscious being, is that awareness. Awareness of who you are in order to be able to follow something that you don't know. Again, going back to feeling that inspiration, that creation that we feel when we get so excited, like, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why I'm going to start a charity. I don't know why I'm going to start a song. I don't know why I'm suddenly going to write a book. I don't know why I'm doing this. This inspiration has come within. And yet, now I have to follow it. And all those thoughts come in. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Lisa's starting a whole new website, something completely new. And not getting derailed from it because it's following the invisible to the unknown. I don't know where this is going. It may lead on to something else. And yet, me standing here, to be quite honest, was because I followed the invisible to the unknown. I didn't know that I never thought that I would be standing up here. I never thought I'd be a minister, first of all, and now getting my doctorate in consciousness studies. But I followed the invisible to the unknown, knowing that it was going to take me somewhere, and I continue to do so. It's kind of a journey. You never stop taking this journey, do you? There is no end. It doesn't plateau. You're constantly following the invisible to the unknown. Why? Because that is part of life. That is part of being present. That is part of knowing who you are, remembering who you are. And when you remember who you are, you can follow that invisible to the unknown, creating from that space of inspiration. Because inspiration only comes from the present moment. It only comes from the now. So when I asked you guys again to be present for the first time, experiencing this room, the singers, me for the first time, allowing yourself to be open to whatever moves through. It may not be what I said, but it may be a tennis shoe that you saw that inspires you to do something. But you have to be open enough and aware enough to follow the invisible to the unknown. I want you to think about this. This is a quote from Dr. James Mellon from his book, Mental Muscle. So I know he's going to be teaching it soon, so you will hear this quote again. And he says, "You cannot intuit God in the past or in the future. Spirit can only be found in the present." You cannot intuit God in the past or in the future. Spirit can only be found in the present. And when you're in the present and you intuit spirit and you intuit God, you intuit yourself as that spirit, as that God. And from there, you're creating a space of inspiration. You're creating a space, you're opening up to whatever comes in, understanding that when you release any control, any need to do something in a certain way, and allowing yourself to be open, there's so much that you invite into your world. So the title of my talk today, Being Present in the Present. And I love this graphic that Reverend Lori and I came up with. As you see this beautiful woman tree that is grounded for Mother's Day, that is grounded, I don't know that you can really see it here, but she is grounded in the ground as the tree torso goes up and then the leaves shine out. That is what being present is. When you are so present and grounded in the present moment, you are grounded in who you are. Every single person that is in this room knows who they are. They've always known. You wouldn't be sitting in this room, you wouldn't be online if you didn't know who you are. If you didn't know the power of who you are now. Not were, not will be, are now. And when you're grounded in that power and continue to create through it, it's endless, the possibilities that you can create from. So remember, in those moments when you're not being present, to be present. Because if you recognize that you're not being present, you're giving an opportunity to be present. So before I close, the best way, the fourth thing that Margaret said about being present is present. How do you present yourself? So the best way to know what you believe is what comes up. And what comes up is how it presents forth for you. So I'm going to ask you something that that Eric and I asked our students to do this week in our class, Power of Belief. I'm going to ask you guys to do something that's uncomfortable. Don't say no, don't think about it. I ask you this week to just do something that is uncomfortable for you. Move out of your comfort zone, because then you'll be able to see what presents itself. What are those beliefs that present themselves? If you think of something that is uncomfortable and then something else comes up and says, no, you can't do that because X, Y, Z, now you know what's presenting. Now you know what you're working with. So when I'm asking you to do something uncomfortable to get out of your zone, it's not just about getting out of your zone and saying like, oh yeah, I can do it. But I also want you to pay attention to those things that come up, that present themselves in your beliefs so that you know, oh, I didn't realize I had that. I'm presenting, this is what's presenting to me. And now I'm going to be present in the present, knowing exactly who I am and understanding that what has come up and presented itself to me is not real. Because the only thing that's real is who you are. And who you are is this ever-present divine source that is constantly opulent, abundant, loving, giving, sharing. That is who you are. That is your birthright. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. If it doesn't present itself that way to you, then get here, get now, let it present itself to you. So be present in the present so that you know that who you present yourself to be is this greatness on this man, is this greatness on demand, this source, this loving energy. That is who you are. Ground yourself in that. Ground yourself in that knowing. Because I know the truth about you. Because I know the truth about me. And I am present to that. Namaste.